The rain came down hard that night, drumming against the cracked windows of Miller's Diner, a lonely little place on the edge of Route 67. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of coffee, grease, and tired souls trying to forget their lives for a while. Outside, engines growled like thunder. The Iron Serpents, the most feared biker gang in 3 counties, had just rolled into town. At their head was Ryder Cole, a man built like the bikes he rode, scarred, powerful, and impossible to stop once in motion. People whispered that he'd been in prison twice, that he'd broken bones without blinking, that he had no heart left to feel. But that night, as he took off his helmet and looked across the diner, something in him shifted, something that had been buried for a long time. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of one moment to change a life, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel Kindness Speaks. Stories like this remind us that even the toughest hearts can still break for the right reasons. Ryder noticed her right away, not because she was beautiful, though she was in a quiet, worn-out way, but because of how carefully she moved. The young waitress's name tag read Emily. Her smile was thin, rehearsed, and trembling at the edges. Her sleeves were rolled down tight despite the heat, and her wrists peeked out just enough to show dark, fading bruises. She didn't meet anyone's eyes for long. When she brought Ryder's coffee, her hand shook so much the cup almost spilled. "Sorry," she whispered. That one word, soft and tired, felt like a plea. Ryder wasn't a man used to feeling pity. He'd seen too much pain in his life to let it reach him anymore. But something about that girl, the fear in her eyes, the way she flinched when the cook in the back shouted, cracked through his armor. He knew that kind of fear. He'd seen it in his mother's eyes before his father's fists took her away for good. That memory, buried deep beneath years of noise, violence, and road dust, hit him like a punch to the chest. The diner went quiet when Ryder stood up. Even his own gang stopped talking. He walked to the counter, leaned against it, and said, "You okay, sweetheart?" She froze, caught between wanting to disappear and wanting to cry. "I'm fine," she murmured. But Ryder saw the truth. He'd spent his life reading faces, enemies, liars, and survivors, and he knew when someone was hiding pain. When she turned away, her shirt lifted just enough for him to see a purple mark along her shoulder blade. That wasn't a random bruise. That was the shape of a man's hand. And it wasn't old. Something inside Ryder went cold. He left a $100 bill under his untouched plate and walked out into the storm. But that image, her trembling hands, the bruises, the dead look in her eyes, followed him like a ghost. His men joked, lit cigarettes, revved engines. Ryder said nothing. He rode off into the night, but his mind was stuck back at that diner, wondering who was hurting her. The next evening he came back, alone. The diner was quieter now, only a few locals inside. Emily was there again, moving slower, limping slightly as she carried a tray. He noticed the faint puffiness around her eye, hidden under makeup. He sat in his usual seat. When she brought his coffee, her sleeve slid up, revealing a fresh bruise in the shape of fingers. This time he caught her wrist gently. She froze, her breath catching. "Who did that?" he asked softly. She tried to pull away, but his grip was careful, steady, not rough. "Please," she whispered, "just don't get involved." That was all he needed to hear, because those were the exact same words his mother had said before she disappeared. For the next few days, Ryder started watching. He parked his bike across the street from the diner every night, just sitting, pretending to smoke, but really waiting. Around 11 p.m. one night, when the diner closed, he saw a pickup truck pull up. A man climbed out, tall, mean-looking, with a swagger that screamed control. Emily stepped outside, and he grabbed her arm hard enough that she winced. Ryder saw her mouth move, maybe an apology, maybe a plea. Then the man yanked her toward the truck, shoved her inside, and drove off. Ryder followed. The road out of town was long and empty. The truck turned down a gravel path toward a small, broken-down house near the woods. Ryder parked his bike far enough away to not be heard. He could hear shouting from inside. Then a crash. Then silence. His fists clenched. He had promised himself years ago never to get involved in other people's problems. It always led to blood. But this wasn't other people. This was the same story repeating, just with a different victim. He kicked the door in. What happened next would be talked about in that small town for years. The man, Emily's boyfriend, a local mechanic named Todd, turned toward Ryder with a beer bottle in his hand and rage on his face. Ryder's knuckles met his jaw before he could speak. Todd swung back, but he was drunk, sloppy. Ryder didn't stop at one punch. He didn't stop until the man lay groaning on the floor, gasping for air. Then he looked at Emily, who stood frozen in the corner, shaking. "You're safe now," he said, his voice rough but steady. She didn't thank him. She just started crying. Years of fear and silence poured out all at once. Ryder didn't touch her, didn't say anything else. He just stood there, guarding her like a silent wall. When the police finally came, called by a neighbor who heard the fight, Ryder didn't resist. He just said he won't touch her again. The cops knew who Ryder was. Everyone did. But when Emily stepped forward, tear-streaked and trembling, she told them the truth. "He saved me," she said. "He didn't hurt me. He stopped him." For once, even the police didn't know what to say. Word spread fast. The town that once crossed the street to avoid the iron. Serpents started seeing Ryder differently. The man they called a criminal had done what no one else dared, stood up for a woman everyone ignored. He didn't talk about it, didn't boast. He just started showing up at the diner more often, sitting quietly in the corner while Emily worked. Sometimes he'd help her carry boxes to her car. Sometimes he'd fix her brakes or walk her home without saying a word. Slowly, she started to smile again, a real smile this time. The gang noticed the change in him, too. He stopped taking the violent jobs, stopped running from his past. When his men asked why, he just said, "Because someone's got to be better than what we were." Months passed, and the diner changed, too. The owner repainted it, added new lights. Locals started coming again, not just for the coffee, but for the peace they felt there. Emily began studying at night, taking online courses to become a nurse. Ryder helped pay for it, though she never asked him to. She tried to thank him once, but he just shook his head. "You saved me too," he said quietly, because the truth was, saving her had saved him. One night, as they closed the diner together, she looked at him and said, "You ever think people can really change?" He smiled, a small, tired, genuine smile. "They can," he said, "when they finally remember what they were supposed to be. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that kindness can come from the most unexpected places, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks. Your support helps us keep sharing real, emotional stories that remind the world how powerful compassion can be.